You don't believe that galaxies are millions of light years away to begin with.
That doesn't matter at all.
It does.
No, it literally doesn't matter at all.
It does.
But why?
Because you're talking about a light attenuating over great distance. Like, you don't even believe in those distances. Like, how do you even
I don't
know?
believe in the medium either.
This is a really fascinating conversation because I was reading a book on a couple different books on quantum theory and things like this. And what I was told was major shifts in science happen when generations of scientists die.
Yep.
Because they over a lifetime, they develop a view of the world that they're emotionally attached to. And that's not an insult. And it's not to say that they're irrational or angry. It's that they see the world in this one way and they see all these pieces. And it's hard for them to turn around and look at something different. Someone who's young comes in and is navigating the space from a different perspective, and they might notice something. So when the older generation dies, I mean, this literally explains geocentrism and heliocentrism. There's a generational shift, and then people now viewed the universe and it became mainstream conventional that we orbit around the sun. When one generation goes, the new generation believes something totally different.
Well, this is a major part of it that people need to understand. It's the Copernican principle. It's the idea that the Earth
That's
doesn't...
what your movie's about.
Yeah, that's what the principle is referring to, yeah. The Earth doesn't occupy a special or unique position. This is like a philosophy. It's that the idea that the universe is so huge that it's illogical to think the Earth...
Let me give you a
special.
good example of how a scientist can be so biased when he's looking at that so-called evidence. Edwin Hubble, you've heard about him?
Yeah, he has a telescope named after him.
Yeah. Famous guy, famous astronomer, one of the most famous. We cover him in the movie, and in 1929, he used the Mount Wilson telescope in California, a 100-inch telescope. I mean, it's as big as this table. You could see galaxies for the first time in human history.
Wow!
So he saw them, but he saw something peculiar in these galaxies. And that was they all had a redshift of the light beams.
What year was this?
1929. Okay, and he wrote a book in 1937 describing all this called the observational, that's the key word, observational approach to cosmology. Okay, what do we see out there? How do we interpret it? Okay, so he sees the redshift of all these galaxies, no blue shifts. How do we, I mean, this looks like the Earth is in the center of the universe. He says it in the book.
In every direction, you see a red shift.
Right.
So can you explain redshift?
Yeah. When light travels, it can be disturbed, taken energy from it, and the light you see is going to shift more to the red end of the spectrum than it would to the blue end of the spectrum. Now, you know what light is because you see a rainbow. You see 7 colors. So it would be like seeing a rainbow with more red than usual.
And so what does that imply?
That implies if you get redshift from every angle you're looking at, okay, and you get no blue shifts, that means we, the observer, have to be in the center of it all.
So I got a riddle for you guys. You are in a cabin with, how does this go? I'm going to ruin it. With 4 windows, and I'm ruining it. Let me look it up.
Let me finish the story first.
Finish the story.
Okay. So he says, but we can't have this. This is horrible. This is horrific. We would only accept this as a last resort to explain the phenomena that the Earth is in the center. So what do? Well, here's what we do. We get rid of the center. We get rid of the center, okay? That means we get rid of Euclidean geometry, and we make a balloon of the universe. A balloon has no center, just has a plastic surface, okay? We put the galaxies on the surface of this balloon, and then we blow the balloon up. So it gets wider and wider and wider. What's going to happen? Each galaxy is going to see the other galaxy move away from it, and what's it going to see? Redshift.
So you're in a house with 4 walls facing south. You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
What?
You are in a house with 4 walls facing south.
Okay.
You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
4 walls facing south.
You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
I don't know.
Anybody?
I believe it's 4 walls facing... Oh, yeah, okay.
What color is the bear?
It's not white?
Well, okay, it is white because you're at the North Pole.
Exactly.
The walls are facing south.
All right.
So that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
How could it be that your house is facing south in every direction?
Yeah.
You're clearly on the North Pole.
Yeah.
The only direction you can go from there would be south.
Perfect. I'm going to use that.
And so the riddle is, what does a bear have to do with my house facing south? But if you actually break it down, you're like, how could your walls only face south? You're at the North Pole. The only bear that you're going to find up there, I don't even know if polar bears are at the North Pole, but whatever.
Okay.
That's
so
the
let me
joke.
just put the finishing touch on this, the icing on the cake. So the guy, he says, we expand the balloon. You see redshift. We don't have any more Earth in the center. Problem solved. Okay. So Father Lemaitre comes along, Belgian priest, Catholic, and says, okay, let's do this. Let's reverse the expansion and make it go down to what happened at the beginning. And you can't define what happened at the beginning. That's why they call it singularity. But they're figuring it took 13.78 billion years for it to start here, and then expand to the point where we see redshift everywhere, you see. And that's how you get out of an Earth-centered universe, by rearranging the universe into a Riemannian two-dimensional balloon instead of a Euclidean geometry with a center.
I think the argument they make is that the universe is expanding and we're not in the center of it, but is expanding. It's still expanding around us. Thus, you will see a redshift regardless.
Yeah.
So if you know the way you're describing it is, if you're on this balloon, even if we were on the leftmost surface of it, as it's expanding, we're going to see things even right next to us redshifting as they're moving away from us.
Yeah, but we're going to see blue shifts too. That's the issue.
How would you see a blue shift?
Because you're closer to the light now, and it's not going to have the same kind of stretching that it had when you were in the center.
But it's still moving away from you. So no matter where you are on an expanding surface, everything's moving away from you.
Very slowly. So you're not going to get an intense redshift. It's going to shift to the blue end of the spectrum now.
Or I don't think it wouldn't shift to blue. It would just be less red.
Sure.
It would be
shift to blue. It has nowhere else to go.
But if it's moving away from you, isn't it still going to be red?
It's moving slowly away from you because you're near the edge.
So why would that? So even if it's moving away from you, it could have a blue shift.
No, it'll shift more to the blue end of the spectrum. It's not going to have the same amount of redshift. You see,
I see what
we're
you're
talking
saying.
about degrees here.
Yes,
this has actually all been disproven too. You can look up like all the redshift anomalies. There are things that are way closer to things that are super far away. They have way more redshift though. Right.
But so the universe is expanding.
No. That's the philosophical assumption required to get rid of the idea the Earth could be in the center. Hubble actually said it was intolerable and horrific. It shows that it implies the Earth's in the center, akin to what everyone thought throughout mankind. But we're going to avoid that at all costs.
Well, so if the universe isn't expanding, what explains the redshift?
There are many theories actually.
There's a very simple one. When you have a galaxy out there and the light beam leaves the galaxy, the gravity of the galaxy is going to pull on that light beam. And it's going to turn it into a redshift.
It's going to slow it down, effectively.
Yeah. And there's something called the tired light theory, which is the idea that it attenuates proportionate to distance. So similar to how like a laser can't go as far through water as air, it attenuates, it gets absorbed into the medium. So that would do it. There's also
like light is passing through things that interfere.
Yeah, it could be it. That was the first theory.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's electromagnetic retardation. It's actually been shown that.
But you can't say that.
You don't believe that galaxies are millions of light years away to begin with.
That doesn't matter at all.
It does.
No, it literally doesn't matter at all.
It does.
But why?
Because you're talking about a light attenuating over great distance. Like, you don't even believe in those distances. Like, how do you even
I don't
know?
believe in the medium either.
You don't believe in ether?
No. Well, okay. So now we're introducing a medium and maybe even another medium. And let's also introduce some plasma, because it's been proven in a lab, unlike your belief of redshift, that photons, quote unquote, which I won't get into that. They redshift through plasma.
So you
redshift through
don't
plasma
think you can
proportionate
replicate
to the medium.
redshift? You don't think that you can get Doppler shift on a spacecraft traveling out from the Earth?
Yeah, of course, with frequency, and then you get into like sound and light, and what's the difference between the two?
You said you couldn't recreate it. Like, we can test redshift.
No, what I said was your theory has been proven wrong, and the reason it's been proven wrong is because the observations don't actually match the theory. For example, quasars, supernova, and I could go on. When these are observed significantly closer to Earth in your paradigm, there's way more redshift than things that are further away. Also, the redshift isn't.
Wait, you're saying that the quasars are further away than the galaxies?
I'm saying that their model doesn't actually add up. That it's just based on.
Yeah, I know, but you said it looks like it's far away, but it isn't. Now that's the theory that goes along with quasars being way far away and galaxies being rather close to us. And Halton Arp, you know.
Yeah,
him,
Halton Arp, that's who I was about to plug.
He's the one that said, no, that's not what's occurring.
Exactly.
What's occurring is the galaxies are creating the quasars, and they're right next to the galaxies.
Right.
And he actually showed filament between the two.
Yeah.
So the whole theory that the quasars are way far away and we see a greater redshift is false.
Yeah, but because they just had to assume that, right? Because it had greater redshift.
Yeah.
But like Halton Arp, this is a perfect example of what happens. People call this science. It's basically a cult, though. Halton Arp was like revered almost, like completely respected astronomer, like world renowned, like had things named after him. And he comes out pointing out that redshift doesn't work. And he ends up writing a second follow-up called Seeing Red, which is a play on how he's like getting angry because he's being blacklisted. He gets blacklisted. He gets the ability, the right to actually use observatory telescopes revoked from him because he comes out and speaks out against redshift. That is not science.
Well, it's because it's against the Big Bang.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a cult. And that's what the Copernican principle is. All the evidence shows the Earth is in the center. And no one knows any of this. It's been omitted from the consciousness of people. And then you get into the physical test, it just definitively proves it.
I want to say something here that is a dimension of this that deals with my major study, which is theology. And that is this, that if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means somebody had to put it there, because it's not going to get there by time and chance.
Is that, would some argue then that you are incentivized to push theories towards the idea of a geocentric universe?
I would never do that.
Well, I would say even
what I'm trying to say is I would go by the evidence. If the evidence supports that theory, we went through Michelson-Morley, we went through Airy, we went through the cosmic microwave background radiation, we went through Hubble's Big Bang universe, where that came from. That's enough for me to say I don't have a bias because the evidence supports what I just said.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.